Gentlemen, allow me to begin with a truth that might surprise you. Most men over the age of 50 believe they already know how to touch a woman with their hands. They think experience alone has made them masters. Yet research tells a sobering story. Nearly 7 out of 10 women say their partner never does it the right way. Think about that. The majority of men, without realizing it, are leaving their partners unsatisfied. That hidden gap is why so many relationships lose passion. Not because age steals it away, but because the right skills were never truly learned. I am Dr. Jonathan Prescott, a urologist and men's health expert with more than 3 decades of experience guiding men to restore their vitality, their confidence, and their intimacy. Over the years, I've spoken to thousands of couples, men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, who came to me thinking their best days were behind them. What I discovered and what I taught them is this. When a man understands how to use his hands with patience and intention, he can create deeper intimacy, stronger trust, and give his partner pleasure that even young men often fail to achieve. Here's the paradox. The simplest, most natural tool you already have, your fingers, can unlock shaking, full-body orgasms that no pill, no performance booster, no quick fix can ever match. And yet, most men ignore this skill, rush through it, or do it completely wrong. That's why so many nights end in silence rather than closeness. Today, I will reveal 7 expert tips drawn from science and years of practice that show you exactly how to use your hands the right way. These are not cheap tricks. They are proven techniques any man, especially those of you over 50, can master to reignite passion and restore connection. And I'll tell you this now. The 5th tip is the one that separates ordinary touch from unforgettable intimacy. Stay with me because once you learn these secrets, your age will no longer feel like a limitation. It will become your greatest advantage. But before we begin, I need something from you. If this message speaks to you, if you feel there's more to learn and more to give, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss what comes next. And if you're already feeling the value of what I'm sharing, do me a favor, hit that like button right now. Not just for me, but for yourself. That single action tells me you're serious about improving your life, and it signals to other men out there, men just like you, that they are not alone in this journey. Drop a 1 in the comments if this resonates with you, or a 0 if you think I've got it wrong. Either way, I read them all. Your words matter, and your honesty helps me guide these conversations in the way that serves you best. Now, let me pause here to speak directly to you, man to man. When you press that like button, I want to give you 3 blessings the way a friend, a brother, or even a coach would. May that simple click be the beginning of a season in your life where passion feels alive again, even stronger than in your younger years. May it remind you that you are not invisible, not forgotten. Your touch still carries the power to change the way your partner feels about herself and about you. And may every time you choose to engage here with a like, with a comment, with an open mind, be a reminder that growth has no age limit and that your story as a man is far from over. This channel isn't about empty theories or glossy promises. It's about real science, real stories, and practical guidance that helps men like you reclaim their confidence in ways that last. I've seen men in their 70s tell me with a laugh that they felt like teenagers again, because they slowed down, they listened, and they learned. That's what I want for you, so let's take this step together. Your presence here already shows you're the kind of man who doesn't settle. You're willing to learn, to adapt, and to give more than what's expected. That mindset is rare and it's powerful. And now that you understand why this hidden skill matters more than ever, it's time to move forward into the first essential step. Because the biggest mistake older men make isn't lack of strength, or even lack of desire. It's skipping the foundation, the warm-up, and rushing too quickly into what comes next. Gentlemen, let me be direct. The number 1 mistake I see men over 50 make is believing foreplay is optional. They think of it as something for younger couples, a prelude to the main act. But the truth is, as women age, their bodies change. Hormonal shifts, slower arousal, and the natural anxieties of intimacy mean that warm-up is not just helpful, it is essential. Think of it like starting a fine old car on a cold morning. You don't just turn the key and slam the gas. You let it idle, let the engine warm, and only then take it on the road. Your partner's body is no different. Without gentle kissing, stroking, teasing, and whispering, her tissues may not be ready. Blood flow takes time to increase. Lubrication builds gradually. And her clitoris needs patience before it becomes fully sensitive. Rush too quickly and you risk discomfort, even rejection. I recall a man named Robert, 62, who came into my office complaining that his wife seemed to pull away whenever he touched her. He was frustrated, convinced she'd simply lost interest with age. When I asked him to walk me through what he did, he admitted he went straight for penetration, no pause, no tenderness. I guided him to change course, to stroke her hair, to caress her thighs, to kiss without expectation. 2 weeks later, he returned, eyes wide. He told me, "Doctor, she reached for me first this time, for the first time in years." That shift was not about new tricks, it was about giving her body time to open and her mind time to trust. Warm-up is more than physical preparation, it is presence. It tells her, "You matter to me, I value you, I am willing to spend time for your pleasure." When she feels that, her body doesn't just respond, it blossoms. I've seen men transform their marriages with nothing more than patience and gentle attention at the beginning. Let me put it this way, foreplay is not the appetizer, it is the foundation of the meal itself. Without it, the rest feels rushed and shallow. With it, intimacy becomes a dance, not a duty. And when she feels safe, cherished, and ready, what comes after takes on a richness neither of you will forget. So I want to challenge you. Tonight, instead of hurrying, slow everything down. Spend 15 minutes, even 20, before ever thinking about penetration. Notice her breathing. Linger on her neck. Let her anticipation build until she can't help but draw you closer. That's the power of not skipping the warm-up. And if this resonates with you, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, type "I'll slow down" if you're ready to commit to giving your partner more time. If you disagree, if you think foreplay doesn't matter at your age, type "Not for me." Either way, your honesty matters. Because once you've mastered the patience of the warm-up, there's another trap waiting for many men, the temptation to rush inside too quickly. And that, my friends, is the second mistake we must unravel. Gentlemen, one of the most common mistakes I've seen in my clinic is this. The moment a man feels the mood is set, he believes the next step is penetration with his fingers. It seems logical, she's ready, you're eager, why wait? But here's the truth. Penetration is not the destination, it is only one stop along a much longer journey. A woman's body is designed to respond gradually, not abruptly. When you rush, what could have been a profound moment of connection turns into discomfort or even disappointment. I once counseled a man named Michael, 68, who sat in my office baffled. He told me his wife seemed guarded, almost distant whenever they became intimate. He assumed it was age, perhaps a fading desire. But when I asked him to describe what he did, he admitted he often went straight inside, skipping the slow exploration of her outer areas. I guided him to shift his approach, circling her clitoris softly, caressing the lips, simply watching how her body reacted before sliding a finger inside. A month later, he returned, smiling like a man reborn. He said, "Doctor, for the first time in years, she reached for me eagerly." There's a lesson in that story. It isn't about technique alone. It's about patience, presence, and respect. By slowing down, you send a message that her comfort matters more than your urgency. And trust me, women notice that. Especially as they age, they long to feel seen, valued, and cared for, not rushed past as though their body is just a gateway to something else. Penetration too soon is like interrupting a song just as the melody begins. You miss the beauty, the rhythm, the anticipation. But when you wait, when you tease, circle, linger, you allow her body to rise on its own tempo. And when that happens, what follows is richer, deeper, and infinitely more satisfying for both of you. Here's a practical way to think about it. Before entering, imagine you're mapping a new country. Trace the borders, notice the textures, listen to her breath as your fingers linger outside. Let her hips guide you. If she leans in, if her breathing quickens, then you'll know she's ready. Let her body invite you rather than you forcing the invitation. I want you to try this the very next time you're with your partner. Resist the urge to rush. Instead, spend those minutes exploring the outer world before stepping inside. And then come back here and tell me in the comments what you noticed. Did she respond differently? Did the energy between you shift? And type patience pays below if you're willing to give this a try. And if you think I'm overcomplicating it, type too slow so we can talk about it together. Your feedback isn't just for me, it helps other men reading along realize they're not alone in these struggles. Because once you've learned not to rush, the next challenge is knowing how much pressure to use, and why starting with just one finger can make all the difference. Gentlemen, here's a truth that may save you years of frustration. More is not always better. Too many men believe that the moment they enter, they should use 2 fingers, maybe even 3, and apply firm pressure as if force equates to passion. But let me tell you clearly, nothing shuts a woman's body down faster than heavy-handedness. The vaginal tissue is delicate, full of sensitive nerve endings. Treated with care, it can bring her immense pleasure. Handled roughly, it brings discomfort and distance. I remember speaking with Thomas, 71, a man who had nearly given up. His partner often pulled away whenever he touched her, and he assumed she had lost interest altogether. When I asked him about his technique, he confessed he always began with 2 fingers, pressing firmly because he thought that's what she wanted. I guided him to start differently with just 1 finger, slow, deliberate, and gentle. I asked him to imagine he was tracing something fragile and priceless. A week later, he came back astonished. "Doctor," he said, "for the first time in years, she leaned into me instead of away." That small change transformed their intimacy. Using 1 finger first is not about being timid, it is about restraint, patience, and listening. It communicates something powerful that you're not trying to take from her but to explore with her. That message builds trust. And trust is the foundation of surrender. When she feels safe, her body opens in ways that surprise even her. There's a simple motion I teach often, the classic "come hither." With your single finger curled gently upward against the front wall of the vagina, slow and steady, you're far more likely to stimulate her in a way that feels natural, pleasurable, and deeply satisfying. Contrast that with hurried thrusting or rough movements. It's the difference between music and noise. Think of it this way, when you start small, you give her body room to respond. If she wants more, she will show you. She'll move her hips, draw your hand deeper, guide you toward more intensity. That progression, led by her signals, turns intimacy into a shared dance rather than a forced performance. So here's my challenge to you tonight: begin with less. Just 1 finger, slow circles, gentle curls. Resist the urge to add more until her body clearly asks for it. Notice how she reacts, how her breathing changes, how her muscles soften. That feedback is your guide. And as always, I want to hear from you. Type 1 finger first in the comments below if you're willing to try this with your partner. If you think this sounds too soft, type "needs more power." Let's see how many of you are brave enough to test patience against pressure. Because once you've mastered the art of restraint, it's time to go deeper into discovery, to seek out a hidden treasure inside her body that many men overlook entirely: the extraordinary G-spot. Gentlemen, let's be blunt. You can have the best techniques in the world, but if your hygiene is careless, you've already lost. When your hands are about to touch the most delicate part of your partner's body, nothing matters more than being clean, trimmed, and prepared. Rough nails, dry skin, or simply forgetting to wash after yard work is enough to turn anticipation into anxiety. And once trust is broken in the bedroom, it is not easy to rebuild. I once counseled Edward, 65, a man genuinely confused about why his wife seemed tense each time intimacy began. He swore he was gentle, swore he followed everything he had read, but when I asked him the simplest question, "Do you keep your nails trimmed?" he laughed and admitted he hadn't thought about it in years. Later, his wife confided she had been scratched more than once, and that memory created tension every time his hand approached her. After hearing that, Edward made it his ritual to keep his nails smooth and his hands moisturized. A month later, he returned, smiling. "Doctor," he said, "she finally relaxed again. It feels brand new." This is more than cleanliness, it is respect. When a woman sees you've taken the time to prepare, she feels valued. She knows you thought of her, not just yourself. That small gesture tells her you are worth the effort. And in return, her body softens, her mind lets go, and her heart opens toward you. Gentlemen, I can't emphasize this enough. Hygiene is a form of love. Smooth hands, fresh scent, the simple ritual of washing before intimacy, these details may seem small, but to her they speak volumes. They say you're not a boy rushing in thoughtlessly. You're a man who carries wisdom, patience, and care. So tonight, before you touch her, take a moment, trim your nails, wash your hands with warm water. Even add a light moisturizer if your skin is dry. She may not mention it directly, but her body will notice. Her comfort will grow, her guard will lower, and her pleasure will be deeper because of it. And I'd love to hear from you. Type hands ready in the comments if you'll commit to this simple but powerful step. Or if you've ever neglected hygiene and paid the price, share your story. You might be surprised how many men silently struggle with the same oversight. Because once your hands are clean and your touch is gentle, the door is open to discovery. And that's when we move towards something extraordinary, finding and awakening the hidden treasure inside her body, the G-spot. Gentlemen, for years the G-spot has been surrounded by mystery, doubt, even skepticism. Some men whisper about it as though it's a myth from magazines. Others dismiss it entirely because they never found it and their partners never reacted. But let me be clear, as both a physician and a man who has guided thousands of couples, the G-spot is very real. And when discovered with patience, it can open a level of pleasure many women never thought possible, even in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. Biologically, the G-spot is located just 1 to 2 inches inside the vagina, along the front wall toward the belly button. When you slide a finger in and curl gently upward, you may notice the texture changes. It feels slightly spongier, different from the smoothness around it. That's your landmark. But here's the key: you don't jab, you don't thrust. Think of it not as hammering a nail, but as drawing a slow invitation. The come hither motion with steady, patient pressure is what awakens it. I'll never forget Harold, 67, who told me he had been married for decades but had never given real thought to the G-spot. His wife rarely reached orgasm and he assumed it was just age. After I walked him through the anatomy, he went home determined to try. When he returned weeks later, he was almost speechless. His wife, who had resigned herself to quiet intimacy, experienced waves of pleasure she had never known. It didn't just transform her body, it transformed their bond. This is the beauty of discovery. When you take the time to explore, when you show her that you've learned something for her, she feels seen, valued, and desired. That emotional reaction often matters just as much as the physical one. She realizes you cared enough to study her, to pay attention, to give her something new. And that kind of attentiveness can reignite even the most tired relationship. Here's how to begin. Tonight, instead of moving quickly, slide a single finger inside and curl upward gently. Don't rush for a reaction, wait for her body to respond. If her breathing changes, if her hips move, if her moans deepen, you're on the right track. Every woman is unique, so don't chase a perfect formula, chase her signals. And once again, I want you to engage with me. In the comments below, type "found it" if you've ever tried searching for the G-spot. If you haven't, type "not yet." Gentlemen, don't be embarrassed. The truth is, most men are in the second group. But what matters is the willingness to learn now. Because once you've discovered this hidden treasure, there's something just as vital to master: the art of listening. Because no matter what technique you use, if you're not tuned into her feedback, her words, her silence, her breath, you'll miss the difference between ordinary touch and unforgettable intimacy. Gentlemen, here is where skill becomes mastery. You can learn every technique, memorize every motion, but if you fail to notice her responses, you miss the very heart of intimacy. Every woman is unique. Some respond to gentle circles around the clitoris. Others crave steady pressure inside. Some need both. The secret is not in guessing, it is in listening. And listening is more than hearing words. It is paying attention to silence, to breathe, to the way her body shifts beneath your hand. If her hips rise toward you, she's telling you something. If her breath quickens or her moans deepen when you slow down, that's feedback. Too many men ignore these signs because they are too focused on performing. But the truth is, her body is speaking a language. If you learn to hear it, you'll never need to rely on tricks. I remember William, 72, a patient who confessed his wife seemed indifferent no matter what he tried. He had read articles, practiced techniques, even memorized routines. Nothing worked. When I asked if he had ever simply asked her or watched her closely, he fell silent. That night, he changed everything. Instead of trying to impress her, he whispered, "Do you like this pace?" He noticed her hips shift when he pressed deeper, her breath catch when he slowed his circles. For the first time in years, she moaned without hesitation. When William told me later, his eyes were wet with gratitude. "Doctor," he said, "I didn't need more moves, I just needed to listen." Listening builds trust, and trust unlocks surrender. When she feels you are tuned in, she lets go. Her body responds with an intensity you cannot force. The smallest adjustment, a change of angle, a slower rhythm, a lighter touch, can turn a good moment into a breathtaking one if you're paying attention. Think of it this way: her body is an instrument, and you are not the composer, you are the listener. If you play too loudly, you miss the melody. But when you listen for every note, the music becomes unforgettable. So here's my challenge to you: the next time you touch her, don't just do. Pause, ask, watch. Let her reactions guide you like a compass. You'll be amazed at how much she will teach you without saying a word. And once again, I want you to join me here in the comments below. Type "I will listen" if you're ready to practice this kind of attentiveness. If you think listening is overrated, type "not necessary." Let's have the conversation honestly. Because your experience may help another man reading along, struggling in silence. And gentlemen, once you've learned to tune in this way, we'll take a break from technique to do something just as valuable: answering your questions directly. Because I know many of you have doubts, challenges, and even criticisms. And I'm not afraid to face them with you. Gentlemen, before we move further, I want to pause and open the floor to you. In our last sessions, many of you left comments, some honest, some skeptical, some downright sharp, and that's exactly what I love. Because intimacy isn't just a lecture, it's a conversation. So today, let me take a few of your questions and answer them directly. Question 1, Dr. Prescott, I'm 70 years old. Does any of this really still work for a man my age? My answer: absolutely. Age changes the way our bodies respond, but it doesn't erase intimacy. In fact, I often find older men have a huge advantage: patience, steadiness, and wisdom. You don't need to move like a 20-year-old. You need to move like a man who knows what he's doing, and trust me, your partner will feel the difference. Question 2. Honestly, this sounds like something from a magazine. Do women over 60 even want this kind of attention? I hear this skepticism often, and let me be clear, desire doesn't disappear with age. What fades is opportunity. Many women simply stop asking because their partners stop trying. I've had women in their late 60s whisper with tears in their eyes that they thought pleasure was behind them until their husbands learned to slow down and give it back. So yes, they want it, maybe more than ever. Question 3, Doctor. Are you just teaching us to be massage therapists with fancy words? Chuckles, I'll take that as a compliment, but no, this isn't massage, it's intimacy. The difference is intent. A massage is about muscle tension. This is about connection, trust, and awakening her desire. If you follow these steps thinking it's just technique, you'll fail. If you do it with presence, she'll feel cherished. And that, gentleman, is what separates a good touch from a life-changing one. Question 4. If my wife doesn't give me any feedback, she stays silent, do I keep going or stop? That's an excellent question. Silence can mean many things: comfort, nervousness, or simply being lost in the moment. Don't assume, ask gently, whisper, do you like this? Or do you want me to keep going? Sometimes just hearing your voice of reassurance helps her open up. And if she truly doesn't respond, slow down, let her body guide you. Listening, as we said before, isn't only about words, it's about everything she shows you without speaking. Question 5. What if my marriage has been cold for years? Is it too late to start this now? This one is tough, but the answer is no, it's not too late. I've seen men in their 70s rebuild trust after decades of silence. It doesn't start with fireworks. It starts with small steps: warm up, gentle touch, clean hands, a whispered compliment. You plant seeds, and over time, desire returns. Remember, intimacy is less about performance and more about presence. If you show her you care again, her body and heart may surprise you. Gentlemen, thank you for these questions, both serious and challenging. They remind me why I do this. You're not just listeners, you're participants in your own transformation, and I encourage you to keep them coming. In the comments of this video, leave your questions, your doubts, even your jokes. I read them all, and I'll bring them into future sessions just like this one. Now, having addressed your voices, it's time to return to our journey. Because beyond technique, beyond hygiene, beyond patience, there is something that ties everything together: the emotional bond. And without that, none of this truly matters. Gentlemen, let me be perfectly clear. You can have the most skilled hands in the world, but if you forget the emotional bond, everything falls flat. Intimacy isn't simply about pressure, rhythm, or technique. It's about how safe, how cherished, and how connected she feels in that moment. I've spoken with countless women in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. Many told me their most powerful orgasms didn't come from some new position or clever trick. They came in moments when they felt deeply loved, when their partner looked into their eyes, whispered affection, and held them with presence. Emotional connection is the fuel that makes the body respond fully. Without it, touch feels mechanical. With it, every caress becomes electric. I recall George, 70, a man who had nearly worn himself out chasing every new technique he read about. He came into my office frustrated, saying his wife rarely climaxed. I asked him one simple question: when was the last time you looked into her eyes and told her she was beautiful while you touched her? He looked down, embarrassed. He admitted he hadn't. That week, he changed his approach. Instead of focusing on performance, he slowed down, held her hand, whispered words of love. For the first time in years, she cried out with passion. Later, she told him she had never felt so close to him. That wasn't about technique, it was about heart. Here's the science behind it. When a woman feels emotionally safe, her muscles relax, blood flow increases, and arousal deepens. Stress hormones drop, pleasure hormones rise. In short, her body opens because her heart feels secure. That's something no trick can substitute. So how do you practice this? Start simple. Maintain eye contact. Tell her what you adore about her. Speak softly while you touch. Hold her afterward, not just during. These gestures may sound small, but they carry weight. They say, you are loved, you are safe, you matter. Gentlemen, intimacy at our age is not about proving anything. It's about giving something: safety, trust, presence. And when you give that, she responds with a depth you may not have seen in years. So here's my challenge tonight: don't focus only on what your hands are doing. Focus on what your heart is communicating. Let her feel that she is cherished. You may be surprised at how her body rewards that. And I want you to weigh in. In the comments below, type "love first" if you believe emotional connection matters more than any trick. If you disagree, type "technique wins." Let's have an honest conversation because both views exist and hearing from each other makes us all better. And now, gentlemen, we come to the close of our journey. Because while each tip matters on its own, it's when they are woven together that intimacy becomes unforgettable. So let's bring it all home. Gentlemen, if there is one truth I want you to carry with you after this journey, it is this. Intimacy at your age is not fading, it is evolving. The years have not stolen your strength, they have given you patience, steadiness, and wisdom. Those qualities, when used with care, can make you far more powerful as a lover than you ever were at 20. These 7 steps are not tricks, they are not shortcuts, they are the foundation of real connection. When you don't skip the warm-up, you show patience. When you avoid rushing inside, you show respect. When you begin with gentle pressure and just one finger, you show care. When you take the time to find the G-spot, you show curiosity and dedication. When you listen both to words and to silence, you show attentiveness. When you keep your hygiene in order, you show thoughtfulness. And when you never forget the emotional connection, you show love, the most powerful ingredient of all. I've seen men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s transform their marriages by following these simple principles. Not by chasing performance, not by fighting against age, but by embracing presence. Many of them confess they never imagined they could bring their partner such deep pleasure so late in life. Yet once they slowed down, once they truly listened, they found their intimacy richer than ever before. Your age, gentlemen, is not a weakness. It is your advantage. You are no longer a boy chasing speed, you are a man who knows the value of time. And with these skills, you can offer something younger men often cannot: safety, trust, and unforgettable closeness. That is the true art of being a lover at this stage of life. So now I ask something of you. If you found value in this teaching, hit that like button right now. Not just as a courtesy, but as a commitment to yourself, to your partner, to your growth. Every click tells me you're serious about becoming the man you were meant to be. Drop a comment below. Tell me which of these steps spoke to you most, or challenge me if you disagree. I want to hear it. This is not a one-way lecture. This is a community of men who refuse to accept decline as their destiny. And when you comment, you not only help yourself, you help another man who reads your words and realizes he's not alone. And finally, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell, because this is just the beginning. I promise you there is more to learn, more to practice, more to reclaim. And I want to walk with you every step of the way. Let me leave you with this blessing. May your patience tonight bring you closer than you've been in years. May your touch remind her not only of passion but of safety. And may your journey forward prove to you that manhood does not fade, it matures, it deepens, and it grows stronger with time. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. You are not broken and you are not finished. You are entering a chapter of intimacy that can be more profound than anything you've ever known. And together, we will make sure of it.